All right. How are we doing, everybody? How is it going? You guys ready to learn from CFS? Long code. How are we doing, guys? We'll wait for some people to trickle in here. Happy Saturday. I believe it's Saturday where most people are right now. Happy Saturday. Hope we're going to have a solid weekend. We're going to learn a lot of things today, and it's going to be great. We're going to be covering a lot of recovery concepts. I'm going to drop as many golden nuggets as I can in the next 90 minutes here. So everybody who's watching right now, just post in the comments down below where you're from. Post where you're from. I see Harold's in the chat. Barbara. We have Jackie. Nice to see you. Tony. We have Anne. Comment down below and let us know where you're from. Let's see. We probably have people from all over the world. Let's see. How many countries can we get? We have New Zealand. We have Kirsten from Austria. We have Simon from Poland. Jana from Germany. Emmanuel from France. Harold's from Germany. We have Florida in the house. We have another Germany. We have Sweden. We have Samuel. Nice to see you, Sam, from Mexico. Kirsty from Kent, England. We have Deb from Massachusetts. Emily from the Philippines. Athena from Canada. Wow. So really people from all over. Nice to see you guys. And put in the comments roughly how long you've been dealing with your symptoms for. How long have you been dealing with CFS or long COVID, or how long has this affected your life? Just put in the comments how many months or years. It's always interesting to get an idea of how long people have been dealing with this for. Wow, 22 years. My partner, 4.5 years. I personally dealt with this for about 4.5 years, and it was a very intense 4.5 years. You know, those 4.5 years felt like 4.5 decades. Time goes by very slow when you're dealing with this kind of stuff. It was almost like I was in a time warp because the days went by very slow when I was stuck in bed and dealing with symptoms, but the years, the months and years, mainly the months, go by really quickly. So it was really interesting. 6 months, you have 6 months, 5 years, 3 years, 6 months, 2 years. Diagnosed 3.5 years, but probably since a teenager 15 years ago. And yes, this is a very interesting thing too. A lot of people, if you really look back, there were a lot of early signs of CFS. There were a lot of symptoms that maybe we kind of brushed off leading up to it, maybe for years. But, you know, we're going to talk about that in a little bit here. I got some really cool topics I'd like to talk about. So today's free training, really just a live stream. I wanted to hop on here and do some questions and answers, but also share what I've seen to be the top 5 roadblocks people deal with when recovering from CFS and long COVID. And this is after, you know, working directly with hundreds and hundreds and speaking with thousands of people all around the world. I mean, just this week, I was probably on 15 to 20 hours of conversations with people with CFS, bedridden, housebound, you know, semi-functional, all different levels. So I get to see, every single week, I get to talk to individuals just like yourself who are dealing with this, but we've also come up with ways to get past these roadblocks. And I don't even like to call them roadblocks anymore. I like to call them speed bumps because they are on the way to recovery. And if you're here right now watching, you know, a part of you knows that you're going to recover at some point. And that's why you're here, still putting in the work and doing everything you can to find a solution. That's why you're here on a Saturday, trying to learn more things. So really great to see everybody on here. Put in the chat any questions you have. So we're going to take a few questions first. We're going to go around, take some questions, and then we're going to dive deep into some of the topics I want to share And for some of you, these may be some refreshers. For others, this may be some brand new information. Nonetheless, I think it's good to hammer in the recovery principles, because the whole goal of learning this stuff isn't to just memorize it. So that way, when you're running into situations, you have to stop and think and memorize and say, okay, what do I do now? We want to get it to a point where you internalize it, right? It's kind of like surfing. When you first start surfing, it's very difficult. You're falling off the board, you're messing up, you're making mistakes, but you do it enough times, eventually you get the hang of it and it just becomes intuitive. And that's what we want for you guys in recovery. We want the decision-making to become second nature to you. So you don't have to, overanalyze or overthink situations. So let's jump into it. Let's start going through some questions here. What was the most severe setback you've seen during recovery? I mean, probably myself. I went from personal training. I crashed, like really crashed, and had a setback about 3 to 4 times. And I made it back to work a handful of times. So I got really sick, had to go off work for 6 months. Then I worked my way back to part-time work, got sick again, worked my way back, got sick again. I did that like 4 times. And by the 4th time, each time my capacity increased, but I would crash even harder. My capacity would increase, crash even harder. So I went from working about 30 to 40 hours a week, personal training. I would have sometimes 12-hour days just training people, plus all the other stuff I was doing on the outside. And I went from very functional, one of the top performing personal trainers in the company. There were like 300 trainers. And then I couldn't feed myself a few months later. So that was a pretty severe setback. And, for the next 6 months, I was living with my grandparents, taking care of me. They were bathing me, spoon feeding me. And the last 2 months of that, actually, it was 6 months with my grandparents and then 2 months in the hospital. A hospital was really rough. I was in the intensive care unit for a month. IVs, blood thinners, everything. Like, they didn't know what was going on. And then that second month I was in the hospital, I linked up with one of the doctors there, who was actually a psychiatrist, but he understood CFS, and we treated it as a hypersensitive nervous system first and foremost. And I was able to go from completely bedridden to wheelchair, then using a walker, then, standing on my own 2 feet, and then walking a little bit, like hanging onto walls and stuff, then walking without support. And then I was released back into the world. So I'd say that's a really severe setback. And I wanted to share that because, that's my personal experience. I've seen other people go through similar things where, they crash quite hard after making lots of progress. So you can always make a comeback from this. That's the great news. No matter how severe it is. I mean, I've seen people who have to wear blindfolds all day, earplugs, construction headphones, dark room, and very minimal food, and actually drinking blended food. And they come back from that. They're able to travel, within a year, work, spend quality time with family. So the game is never over. The game is never over. You're still in the game, right? You may feel like you're losing, but you're still in the game. So just don't stop playing it. It's like, I don't know, let's say you're in a sports game and you're getting beat like 5-0. You don't just stop. There's a way to make a comeback, So yeah, keep fighting. But that was the most severe setback I've seen. Let's talk about this, because this is one of the topics I wanted to cover. Can you please talk about flu-like symptoms? Is this normal to have? Hot flashes, sweating. Yes, absolutely. Especially during flare-ups. I call them adjustment periods, APs, right? And that's something we're going to talk about very shortly here. Adjustment periods. So APs, or these hot flashes and sweating, really, it is just part of that cocktail of symptoms that your body gives you to try to slow you down. And actually, I'm going to save this question for a little bit because this is part of one of the topics we're going to talk about. Just going to write a note. So thanks for asking that, Anne. We will definitely cover this. I'm going to save the best for last here. Not last, but we're going to jump into it in a few minutes. Here we go. What do you do when unexpected life events occur and pacing isn't necessarily possible? A great question. So life curveballs will definitely come up. That's just how life works. You could be driving and then the car cuts you off. You could be meeting up with a friend and then they can't make the meeting. So life is unpredictable. And a lot of times the unexpected life events comes from other people, or it has to do with other people. So, in the odd time, it could be like nature. You want to do something and I don't know, maybe the power goes out and then it's really stressful. But at the end of the day, you really want to focus on what can you control in that moment. Emotions are one of the main drivers of symptoms for CFS and long COVID. I'm not saying it's all of it, but it is a huge part of it. The emotional stress that we can sometimes place on ourselves or that we experience, it can lead to physical symptoms. So if there are things happening outside of us, unexpected life events, if it's unexpected, there's no need to kind of beat yourself up over it. And I would really just try to respond the best you can. What is in your control right now? Because if something's in your control, you can do something about it. If it's not, then that's okay. So a lot of times with other people, you can't really control what they do or what they say or how they think, and that's fine. So you have to learn to be okay, not being in control of the whole situation. And I think that's something that people with CFS can struggle with, because we tend to want to control a lot of things. We're for the most part, highly analytical people. We think very deeply about certain things. And that's where a lot of anxiety comes from too. Anxiety comes from the unknown. So if there are things that we can't control, or we're not sure what's going to happen next, that can be very stressful. So it's learning to let go of what we can't control and focus on what you can control. That's the biggest thing. So for me, the only thing that mattered, even nowadays, nowadays it's different because, CFS recovery is a much larger operation. But when I was recovering, I really had to focus on staying in my 3-foot world. Nothing outside these 3 feet around me mattered, right? Only in my immediate surroundings, that's what mattered. And that really, really helped me keep things simple. It didn't matter if there was a tsunami coming to wipe out my town. It wasn't my problem until it's within 3 feet of me. So especially when you are on your recovery journey, it sounds selfish to think like that, but you need, I don't want to say you have to do it, but it really helps to have that mindset just for now, because it's going to help you get out of the hole, help you get out of the trenches. And then once you get out of the trenches, then you're able to give back to other people. But you do need to be a little bit selfish in that sense, as in, nothing really matters. You need to prioritize yourself because you can't pour from an empty cup. So that's what I would say. It's what's in your control, and really stay in your 3-foot world. Nothing outside this space, this 3-foot space, affects you. It doesn't matter. You have no control over it. So no point in stressing out over that. I found that to really help me. Okay. So let's jump into it. I'm going to cover 5 topics today. And I know we got a bunch of questions here. I'll try to answer them as we go as well. And the things that I'm going to cover, we'll probably answer these things. So let me pull up my screen here. So does everybody here know, have you guys heard of an adjustment period? the term adjustment period, or AP. Just put in the comments if you've heard me talk about that before, heard me say that. Because that's what I'm going to talk about first. We're going to slightly touch on it, then we're going to go even deeper and deeper. Today's going to be like a lesson on a lot of these flare-ups, a lot of like how to expand activity, how to pull back. Awesome. Okay. Got a lot of people who've heard about the adjustment period. So I'll also put in the comments, actually, roughly what is an adjustment period in 1 or 2 sentences. If you guys could put that, let's put the knowledge to the test here. Let's see. Adjustment period. And if you don't know what an adjustment period is, or you haven't heard it, you probably heard what a flare-up is, because these are essentially the same things, but it's different ways of looking at it. If you heard what a flare-up is, put that in the chat as well. What is your definition of a flare-up? Because this is going to be huge. The way you see flare-ups and looking at them as adjustment periods is going to be absolutely crucial to how fast you recover. Let's see. Okay. Flare-up of symptoms after new stimulus. Yep. Increase of symptoms due to increase in activity. A time when symptoms rise because your nervous system is adjusting to new stimulus. Yes. I love this one. Exactly. Reach the threshold and get more symptoms. How's it going, Viola? Nice to see you. A symptom, sometimes something new after stress. Yes. So typically what we'll have here, and let me actually share my screen here. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to give you guys a little sneak peek of some stuff. You guys can see my screen. So this is inside the Recovery Academy, but I'm just going to go to the Recovery Science Blueprint. Okay. So let's take a look at this. Okay. We have a chart over here. Let me, yeah, okay, this is a good setup. So an adjustment period, all it is your body, let's talk about your nervous system here, right? Everything we're talking about today is the nervous system, because the nervous system is what's causing a lot of these symptoms. And actually, big disclaimer, these principles apply if you have had your tests and scans done, you've seen doctors and specialists, and they haven't found a solution for what you're looking for. And they're trying to help you. Maybe they're giving you medication, but it's not getting you better. So if you've done your due diligence and seen the professionals and they can't fix you still, very, very high chance this is a hypersensitive nervous system and these principles are going to work. So an adjustment period is essentially your body or your nervous system is adjusting to a new level of stimulus, just like, I'm not sure how to say this, Louch 33, aka Dodo, said over here, a time when symptoms arise because your nervous system is adjusting to new stimulus. Now, the reason we even call it an adjustment period is it reframes it from something that's just horrible, something that's bad, something that's a crash. Because before, I would look at adjustment periods as a bad thing. I said, if I'm getting symptoms, I'm doing something wrong. I'm messing it up. I shouldn't be getting symptoms. So essentially, this is how it looks. If we look at this, this cycle over here, let me zoom in. If we look at this, you have a period of increased activity, or I should actually reframe this to increased stimulus, because any kind of stimulus can cause an adjustment period. You don't necessarily have to increase your physical activity. You could be watching a movie. That's cognitive stimulus. You could be hearing loud music. You could be in an intense conversation or debate with somebody. You can eat some really spicy food, right? That's increased stimulus from what you're typically used to, and if that's the case, what happens is there's this increased stimulus over here. So it feels like you're doing more, feels like you're expanding. So this is what we talk about when expanding. It's any increase of stimulus in any area. What happens a lot of times is you'll have an adjustment period. So your capacity will actually drop. It will feel like you're getting worse. The adjustment period, you can experience all of these different things, right? These are just some potential symptoms: fatigue, wired, buzzing, brain fog, general anxiety, headaches, migraines, shortness of breath, ringing in ears, POTS, nausea, chronic pain, plus dozens of other symptoms. And so even though you may not get all of them, sometimes your brain just, it's almost like it picks these symptoms out of a hat. It's like, okay, there's extra stimulus on this body. We want to get this body to slow down. We can't just speak to the body. Your brain, the part of your brain that's causing this stuff, it doesn't speak language. It's just going to try to force you to slow down because it thinks you're exposing yourself to more danger. Right now, you're in survival mode. Okay. So when you have all of these symptoms, it may feel like you're going backwards, but you're really not. It's very similar to how if you're working out in the gym and then you push yourself really hard, like even a normal person, then they get really sore, right? That is the adaptation phase. Okay. So the adaptation phase, their muscles are rebuilding back. They're rebuilding stronger. It's adapting to doing 10 push-ups if they've never done it before. So the next time they go back, they'll be able to do the 10 push-ups easier. And then they'll be able to do 11, then 12, 15, 20, 30, 50, right? So your body adapts to the new level of stimulus. The problem is, or the challenge is, our bodies are not very good at adapting in the beginning because it's just so sensitive. So this is why we want to increase stimulus little by little. And I'm going to talk about that in a bit here. But the adjustment period is not a bad thing. It is just a phase you go through when your body is adapting to a new level of stimulus. I always thought about it like, there's different levels in recovery, and it's like in a video game. You have to get past that boss level in order to level up, in order to unlock the new level. So I looked at the adjustment period, these symptoms, this flare up, and with the flare up, I looked at overthinking as a symptom. I looked at negative thoughts as a symptom because I tended to be very negative, very frustrated, very fearful and doubtful, especially during flare-ups. So I noticed that pattern, and my doctor said, yeah, when you're in an adjustment period, or when you're in a flare-up, your mind is going to be hyper-focused on everything that could go wrong. It's going to think worst case scenarios because you're in complete survival mode. So not only is your body giving you signals to slow down, physical signals, it's also going to give you like mental signals. It's going to say, oh, what if we crash? What if this is the right stuff to do? Maybe you should slow down, right? So just know that's what your brain is trying to do. It is an adjustment period because it doesn't think it's ready for the next step. So here's the thing. If you respond well in this adjustment period, as in really the biggest thing you have control over during this time is your emotions. It's, do we go on a downward spiral of thoughts and, just panic that we're back to square one or we're getting worse, or beat ourselves up that I shouldn't have flared up. I made a mistake. I screwed up. Now I just extended recovery by 6 months. These are the thoughts that will go through your mind, but you have to catch that. And you need to really try to bring your emotions to as neutral of a level as possible. And a lot of times people try to switch that. They try to just think positive during the adjustment period. To be honest, it's very difficult in the beginning to be positive about flaring up. You'll get to the place where you're going to look forward to the adjustment periods because you have a clear association with a level up when you have an adjustment period. But in the beginning, just try to stay neutral. You have to swat those thoughts away, swat those symptoms away in your mind and say, you know what? That's just a hypersensitive nervous system. So just like Simon says here, by saying it's just a hypersensitive nervous system, that helps you stay calm, right? So just remind yourself that. A lot of times we I would think when I'm in a flare up, oh, my mitochondria is shutting down. I'm running out of battery power. I'm at 1% right now. What if I get to 0? Is my body just going to shut down? So it became this really scary monster that I was going up against, when really I would literally say in my mind, oh, it's just a hypersensitive nervous system. That's it. It's just a glitch in your system, in your software. You look at the nervous system, you look at the brain. Okay, let's look at the brain or compute software system compared to brain. Brain versus computer comparison. I want to do the like neural pathways, brain neural. Okay. So the brain, where is the internet? There's a photo I really want to share. Brain and pathways, and your brain is like, it's like a software, it runs a software. Okay, I can't find it. When I find it, I'm going to post it for you guys. But your brain and nervous system, it's like a software. So all that's really happening is there's a glitch in the software. So I looked at it that way and I said, oh, I'm not broken. My body's actually overperforming. It's too responsive. It's not like I'm running out of energy. It has too much energy, but it's going to the wrong things. It's going to purely survival mode. So when you flare up, don't look at it as a bad thing. It's just an adjustment period. And adjustment periods are necessary because when your capacity drops and you're flaring up, if you respond well, you're going to level up and your body is going to gain back energy, and symptoms start to lift and you start to level up here, right? Does that make sense for everybody so far? You actually level up. It's kind of like someone working out, then getting really sore, and then they pull back. They take a rest day for the next few days so their body has time to rebuild, and then they get stronger, right? You don't want to go to the gym, work out, get sore, and then keep working out that same muscle. That's how you get an injury, and that's how you crash with CFS. So you don't want to completely stop during adjustment periods. You just want to slow down a little bit. Does that make sense? Adjustment period, it's an adaptation phase to get to a new level of stimulus. Now, in the beginning, you have to take it in small bite-sized chunks. You can't go from, couch bound to going for bike rides in a week. I've seen it though. I've seen it happen, but typically that's not the case. Is that making sense so far? The adjustment periods. So that's roadblock number one. It's looking at adjustment periods as a bad thing, looking at flare-ups as a bad thing. And people confuse adjustment periods with crashes. So that is the next thing I want to talk about. Let me see if I can find it here. Post-crash, adjustment periods versus crash. Here we go. Okay. So dealing with flare-ups, crashes versus adjustment periods. We actually need to update this. Yeah, I don't want to confuse you guys. Let's talk about progress cycles. So let's go back here. Okay. Progress cycle cheat sheet. So how it works is you go through dozens and dozens of these cycles. This is called a progress cycle, where there's an increase of stimulus, then your capacity drops, and then you gain back energy and symptoms start to lift. That is a progress cycle. So I will share my screen again. Do we have a whiteboard? How do I do a whiteboard? Huh. Okay, I know what to do. Yeah, let me open up my whiteboard here. Have you guys heard about progress cycles before? we're going to talk about progress cycles because this really ties into the adjustment periods. Let's see in the chats here. Okay. You guys hear about progress cycles? Can you guys still hear me? I don't see any comments coming through. Yeah, and really quickly here, can you sometimes need to trigger an AP more than once for your nervous system to adjust to it? Yes. Yeah, you're going to trigger APs dozens and dozens and dozens of times. So let me share my screen here. Okay. Adjustment periods. So we covered adjustment periods. We're going to cover progress cycles. So if we look at recovery, there's this, that's a really squiggly line. Let's say if this is progress, right? This is where we want to get to. This is where thriving health is. That's where you have no symptoms, no limitations, no issues. You don't have to worry about how much you're doing. You're good to go. Okay, so this is the timeline of recovery. This is where we want to get to. This is the ultimate goal. If we go down here, this is our starting point. So what's going to happen is that adjustment period that I just showed you, okay, there's going to be an increase of stimulus, then your capacity is going to drop, and then you're going to level up, okay? This whole cycle here, we could call this cycle a progress cycle, right? So this is essentially, this could last anywhere from a few hours, actually. Sometimes you only flare up for a very short period of time. Other times you can flare up for several weeks, right? And so what happens is, let me go ahead and erase this. What happens is you can have a small progress cycle, or you can have a big progress cycle. You can have a medium progress cycle. You can have big progress cycles back to back. You can have a bunch of small ones where you barely notice it and you're still functional. So regardless of how intense the symptoms are or how long they last, if you're responding well, right, you should be moving along in recovery. You should be doing better and better. Now, this is where it gets confusing for some people, because let's say here, this adjustment period lasts, I don't know, something like maybe 3 days. Let me fix this. I'm gonna make this document bigger. 3,000. Yeah, let's say this lasts 3 days. Okay. Now you have a flare up, you have an adjustment period, then you respond really well, then you actually level up, you actually get better. So instead of just being able to walk to the kitchen and make yourself one meal a day, now you can make yourself one meal a day and you have way more energy and you have less symptoms and you don't flare up as much doing it. I would look at that as a level up. It's a step in the right direction. So let's say you do that and you feel actually better, right? And you do that for several days. And then the next time you have an adjustment period, like an obvious adjustment period, this thing lasts 3 weeks, right? What happens then? Does that mean you're going backwards if the other one lasted 3 days and now yours is 3 weeks? No, definitely not. Because that's just a bigger opportunity to level up in recovery. Because look at this. After you level up, after you come out of this, you gain even more ground. So that's the thing with this stuff. Here, it was a smaller adjustment period. Let's say you took a couple steps forward after that. With this, I mean, you're taking a massive leap forward. So the bigger the adjustment period, the bigger opportunity there is for level up. Now, you do have to be responsible with this. If you get to the point where you're pushing yourself to where it's very unmanageable, that's where you can run into situations where you might feel like you're crashing. You only want to increase stimulus to the level of symptoms that you can handle emotionally and physically. Okay. So don't push yourself harder than you can handle. And this takes some testing in the beginning. That's why it's very safe to start slow. Start small, start increasing stimulus just little by little. And this is what we help people with. We help people find out, where are they even starting at? What is their true capacity? And, let's find a starting point. And actually, we have that tool for free for you guys right now. I'm going to share that at the end. It's completely free. But basically, you start slow. You kind of find your rhythm, find your pace. And then if you have an adjustment period, that's way longer, that's way more intense, that's fine. That's a bigger opportunity to level up. Okay. Because the real brain retraining, the real fixing of the software in your nervous system happens when you are in a flare up. When you're doing well, when you're feeling decent, that's actually not where the magic happens. The magic happens when you are in the flare up. That's when your brain is the most malleable, the most moldable to rewiring. And what we're trying to do is rewire your brain back to a sense of safety, because right now it is in complete survival mode. We need to get it back to safety. So when you're in the adjustment period, you're like constantly rerouting those thoughts and those emotions and those feelings to a sense of safety. And if you get to that sense of safety, that is really the ultimate goal of brain retraining. Because what happens is your brain doesn't have a reference point of what safety even feels like. It doesn't know what comfort feels like. So you need to find that reference point in your brain again. It's there. It has the ability to feel normal again, but it forgot how to access that. And that's up to you to manually override your brain's wanting to go into complete survival mode. So whether it's 3 days, whether it's 3 weeks, I mean, this could be 1 day. This could be, this could be 7 weeks. Either way, if you respond well, you're going to continue leveling up and up and up and up. And you do this over and over and over again. And eventually, if we zoom out, this goes all the way up here, all the way up here. You're going through multiple progress cycles to the point where you get up here. And this star should actually be way up here. So you have to go through cycles. You're going to have adjustment periods. You're going to have flare-ups. Totally fine. And, as long as you keep your composure and you respond well to symptoms, you'll be okay. You'll be okay. How do I know if I'm having an AP or just the normal daily fluctuations in symptoms? That's great. I love that you asked that. And let me show you guys another thing. So let's talk more about symptoms, right? Symptoms and these adjustment periods. And by the way, really important for all of you, let me make this big. Never ever track how long your adjustment period is. Okay? Never ever track how long your adjustment period is. Now, I wrote down here 3 days, 3 weeks, 1 day, 7 weeks. I put timelines to this just to illustrate the idea that your adjustment periods can last different lengths of time. But at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter, because your number one job during an adjustment period, your sole focus, the only thing that you need to do is focus on responding well to symptoms. The goal of that is to neutralize your emotions. The more you can neutralize your emotions, it doesn't have to be completely neutral. You're not a robot. But the more you can calm your emotions down and stay as neutral as you can, the faster you will come out of the adjustment period. If you start tracking this stuff, I guarantee you, I used to do it myself for years, and I've talked to thousands of people, and this is one of the number one roadblocks people have. It is tracking how long their adjustment period is, or how intense. So let me do this. Never ever track how long or how intense your adjustment period is. Does that make sense? If there's one thing to take away from this presentation today, from this training, it's this. Never ever track how long or intense your adjustment period is. And I'm going to write here actually. Your sole focus during an AP or adjustment period is responding well to symptoms. Emotionally neutral. This, if you can get this right, you will recover way faster than you thought possible. Okay. Your sole focus during an AP is responding well to symptoms and staying as emotionally neutral as you can. Notice how I said as emotionally neutral as you can. Doesn't mean you have to be perfect. No one's perfect. You're going to feel anxious. You're going to feel scared, but really try to limit that. Okay. I cannot stress this enough. This is probably the number one mistake people make. Definitely one of the top two, I would say. So really important. I just want to put that point across. Now, there was another question, and this goes into, let's see, who asked it? Oh, here we go. How do I know if I'm having an AP or just the normal daily fluctuation of symptoms? I got you. I will show you this. I got another guide for you. It's called When Will the Symptoms Go Away? Here it is. Share screen. All right. So let me just read this off. If you've been suffering with CFS or a hypersensitive nervous system for a while, you probably asked yourself this question thousands of times. When will the symptoms go away? Want the truth? Not anytime soon. Now, I know that's not the answer you want to hear, but there is a concept you need to understand about how symptoms come and go throughout your recovery journey. And this answers your exact question, Kirsty. It can be super confusing trying to even keep track of all the symptoms you're feeling in your body. So I've simplified it and broken symptoms down into just two categories: primary symptoms and secondary symptoms. Okay. And again, this is just to understand how the symptoms work. You definitely don't need to memorize this stuff. It's actually better if you don't, but just understand the concept of this. Okay. It's more so about understanding it versus memorizing terms and all of that. Primary symptoms, they're the ones that seem to linger and they seem to rarely go away, while secondary symptoms seem to be more periodical and noticeable when they do come. So if we look at primary symptoms, they tend to be quite steady, occasionally increasing in intensity when we are in adjustment periods, right? So a lot of times primary symptoms can be fatigue, some wired and buzzing feeling like internal tremors, brain fog, general anxiety. There's a few other things as well, right? But over time, the primary symptoms are steadily reduced if you're recovering properly and staying on track. On top of all of this, there are also secondary symptoms, which are triggered by adjustment periods. So it's very, very important to note that adjustment periods, again, they're not bad. They don't have to be avoided at all costs. They are actually necessary in order to retrain your nervous system. And just like we talked about, your success is determined by how well you respond to symptoms. Okay. Now, let's talk about secondary symptoms. By the way, does this make sense, guys? So far? Is this making sense? It's clicking. It's so over time, these symptoms can drop. Now they can increase though. They can increase, which is what I'm going to show you here. But in the grand scheme of things, they should be dropping. Now, secondary symptoms are much more intense than primary symptoms. While we can typically get through the day feeling decent, you'll make it through the day in one piece with general fatigue and brain fog, having, some headaches and nausea, or sorry. Yeah, we can typically get through the day with primary symptoms, right? Having headaches and nausea and other strange symptoms, that's a different story when you're in the AP. So we have to just recognize when these secondary symptoms start creeping in and showing up, because those are clear indicators that you're probably in a phase of adjustment, probably in an adjustment period. And we just have to focus on really rewiring our thoughts and our response to symptoms. Again, back to what I just showed you, that is the number one thing to focus on. The golden rule in recovery is responding well to symptoms. Okay. And also, you could be doing all the right things. There's a delay effect. So sometimes you could do activities and then you have a flare up and then you're responding well. You're saying, no, I'm responding well. And then your flare up is getting more and more and more intense. There's just a delay effect usually in your nervous system, so you just have to kind of to roll with the punches, and adapt to the symptoms. But as long as you can keep your composure, it always comes back down. As you guys have experienced, you've experienced dozens, if not hundreds of symptoms and flare-ups. They always die down. It's like a storm at sea. It's like you're sailing a ship across the sea, trying to get to the land of thriving health, the island of thriving health. But every now and then you're going to run into a pretty intense storm where it feels like the ship is just going to break in half and sink to the bottom of the ocean. But after every storm is some sunshine, is an opportunity to level up in recovery. And it's a beautiful day. And, when things are good, enjoy it. When things are getting pretty crazy, you just keep your composure. Now, here's a great question. Can you give us an example of swatting your thoughts away? Like, what does that look like in practice? Yes. So I always use this example, Cody. Let's say I stand up too fast. This happened all the time. I stand up too fast, then I get lightheaded and my heart rate goes up and I start feeling palpitations and shortness of breath. Let's stick to one. Shortness of breath and heart palpitations. Whenever that happened before, I immediately thought, uh-oh, is my heart okay? Is something going on with my heart? Am I going to have a heart attack? Then I start checking my pulse. Then I start checking my heart rate on my heart monitor. And then I'm getting shortness of breath and I'm saying, what if my lungs are shutting down? So all these thoughts are coming to my head within like 2 seconds. Are my lungs shutting down? Am I going to have a heart attack? Am I going to die? So when those happen, I would recognize them and I'd just say, no. It's just a hypersensitive nervous system. It's just a hypersensitive nervous system. So it's really hard to just swat a thought away and, expect it to just leave. You almost have to replace it with another thought. And the thing I replaced all my worries with was, oh, it's just a hypersensitive nervous system. Oh, it's just a hypersensitive nervous system. Because it helped minimize the fear around it. And it helped take the teeth out of the monster of the symptoms. Because in the beginning, every symptom, it's another threat. It's another possibility that I'm going to die. All of these things, I felt like it was trying to kill me. I literally felt like my body was trying to kill me. But then I realized, oh, it's just a hypersensitive nervous system. Oh, that's just a software glitch. Oh, that's just the body signals. So I didn't put any emotional label on the symptoms. I just looked at it as feedback from my body. Oh, that's just science. That's just my brain reacting. It's not bad. It's not good. It just is what it is, So I really looked at it that way. I had to look at it from a logical perspective versus emotional. The more logic you can build into recovery and your understanding of this entire thing, the better. That's why I teach all of these principles. I really try to break it down in visuals and explanations and most of all analogies, because if you can start to understand what's going on, now you have a logical sense of the situation versus just emotional. You can't recover if you are constantly in an emotional state. So really logic is one of the keys out of this. But I hope this helps. So this kind of illustrates how there's layers of symptoms. Again, do not track this, do not measure it, do not overthink it in that sense. You guys learning stuff so far? Guys getting some golden nuggets? Let me know your biggest takeaway so far. What's the biggest thing that has stuck so far with everything we just covered? I'll take some questions too before we jump into the next topic. What is your biggest takeaway? Is it the progress cycles? Is it being neutral during adjustment periods? Is it stopping measuring adjustment periods? Put down in the comments what is the biggest takeaway so far? Yep. How's it going, Tally? Long time no see. Yeah, intensity of an AP does not matter. Yeah, stopping tracking of APs. Yeah, and I'd say the biggest roadblock, because I know that's what this topic was about today, that is the number one thing that keeps people stuck. It's tracking the adjustment periods in time and intensity. Yeah, I've heard most of the stuff from your videos, but it helps to keep turning over it to make it really click in my brain and stick. Yeah, so you know what I did, guys? Everything we have in the recovery science blueprint, so all these diagrams that we have inside the academy, I basically drew it on a paper because those are what my doctor drew on a board. Most of those he drew on a board. Some of them I came up with. And I wrote them down every single day for about probably the first month. And I would write it down 2 to 3 times a day because I had to get it ingrained in my software. So that way, anytime I was in an adjustment period and you know, on the verge of freaking out, I had a safety net. My safety net was the knowledge, especially this thing really helped me. I'll show you guys. By the way, the Recovery Academy right now, this is our community. That's where all our resources are stored. There's tons of video modules. There's lots of calls, actually. Like we have lots of calls every single week, like 10 hours of calls for different levels of recovery. We're doing a free trial. So you guys can try it out for free. You don't have to pay anything. And right now it is live. So, you know, if you want to try it out for the next week or so, join some calls. Only do it if you're serious and you're actually going to come to the calls. I would definitely give it a try because we just wanted to open the doors so, you know, as many people could try it. But anyways, the anxiety magnifying glass. Okay, check this out. This is something that really helped me with recovery. Okay, and this might help you guys. I'll go over it really quickly. So your brain, it has this magnifying glass feature, especially when it's in survival mode and it's in fight or flight mode. So here's an analogy. Imagine there's a small spider on the table. It's not that scary, right? It's tiny, it's harmless. It's not going to do anything. Now, if we take a big magnifying glass and put it over that same spider, that magnifying glass will appear 10 times bigger or 20 times bigger, depending on how big the magnifying glass. So nothing changed about the small threat, the small thing, the object. The only thing that changed was the lens we're looking at it through. Okay, so the actual thing did not change. It's just our perception of it. And so this is like what happens when you are in an adjustment period. Your brain has this magnifying glass looking for any potential danger. You will feel heightened sensations in your body. You'll feel heightened thoughts. You're going to feel palpitations and immediately be convinced that, oh man, I'm having a heart attack. I should probably call 911. Or, you know, your legs feel like they're really heavy and fatigued. You're going to think my legs are shutting down. They're shutting down. They're not shutting down. It feels very heavy, but your brain will exaggerate a lot of things. But here's the thing, it's real fear, it's real sensations that you're feeling, but the actual danger, it's okay. Your body will actually be okay, but it feels like it's falling apart. This is why a lot of the tests you guys have done, I'm assuming for most of you guys, you've been to the emergency room during crashes. You've been to the doctors where you feel like absolute crap, like you got T-boned by a semi truck. But the doctors check your tests and they say, hey, you're completely fine. You got a clean bill of health. Congratulations. And you sit there thinking, what the heck is going on? Clearly, I'm very sick. Clearly, something's happening. It's because your body is actually okay. It's the software. It's your brain's perception of these sensations. It's pretty much translating every sensation you have to pain or symptoms. So just know, especially with your thoughts during adjustment periods, you're going to have this magnifying glass effect where anything seems a lot more scary. So the anxiety and fear skews our perception of stress. The more anxiety you have, the larger the magnifying glass for danger and stress. The less anxiety you have, that's why we want to neutralize our emotions, the smaller the magnifying glass for danger and stress. Yeah, I think this is probably one of the most important questions today I've seen. Can you play Fortnite after you recover? Yes, absolutely. Super, super important. You definitely can play Fortnite after you recover. Thanks for the question. Okay. All right, let's go rapid fire here. I'm going to go rapid fire with some questions. Adam, with having ME/CFS, does our body inherently take more time to recover from colds or immune system flare-ups? You know what? Not necessarily. I've seen people in pretty severe states get over a cold just as fast as a normal person. Now, when you have a cold, you're probably going to have an adjustment period to go along with it. So it's just extra stress on the body, but it doesn't necessarily take longer for the cold to go away. Some people actually feel better during colds. It's like the nervous system prioritizes boosting your immune system against an actual danger, like some kind of pathogen that came in. And so it doesn't have time to send your body all these fight or flight signals because it's so focused on getting rid of a real threat. So some people actually feel better during a cold because all the weird symptoms go away and they just get flu-like symptoms, and they prefer that over the 20 weird things. So yeah, it doesn't necessarily take more time to recover for colds. Yep. Do not track APs even though you feel this impulse so badly. Yes. And okay. Here we go. Do flare-ups always have a delay, or can symptoms start during the activity that is too much for you? Like symptoms start during your walk and not hours later. Symptoms can start during the activity, for sure. They can definitely start during the activity. Sometimes it's hit or miss. Sometimes you could do the same activity and you can have symptoms, and then the next time you do it, you don't have symptoms and it comes like a day later. Usually it's fairly consistent, but yeah, that's why it's so important not to try to plan the APs or predict when it's going to happen. You don't really have control over that. The only thing you have control over is your response to the symptoms when the time comes. So for me, all I knew is I have one job, and if I do this one job right, I'm going to recover, and that's respond well to symptoms. Who all here gets skipped heartbeats often? Yeah. I think most people get it. Not everybody, but most people. That's almost one of the common symptoms of CFS. I did a Holter monitor test because I had so many palpitations. They hooked up these electrodes to me for like 24 hours. And I think at my peak, my heart skipped about 450 times. It skipped. And then there were like, I think it was like 20 times it had a triple skip, and a few times it had a quadruple skip. And I remember I had to track this. I had to write down anytime it had a really big skip, and they line it up to the tracker. And then, funny enough, they said, "Hey, Miguel, your heart's perfectly fine." Yeah, it didn't feel fine. A quadruple skip is scary. It's like, do, 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 do. Like, yeah, that felt like a heart attack. But yeah, I was completely fine after that goes away over time. Alrighty. Okay, let's go to one more thing I want to show you guys. One more thing. I think this is going to be really useful. So, very important here. How do you find your optimal zone of activity? How do you know how much to do? How much do you know to pull back? You know, there's this term in the CFS space, baseline. Find your baseline. That's your optimal amount of activity. So we actually made a guide, right? The capacity expansion framework. So this is designed to help you balance activity in a rest. This is designed to help you balance activity and rest in a way that promotes steady progress without overwhelming your nervous system. This framework replaces the old symptom number scale. Yes, we used to say, and if you haven't seen it before, that's fine, but we used to say, okay, if your symptoms on a scale of 1 to 10, if they're above a 5, as in very intense, just pull back. If they're below a 5, increase. And that worked. That was better than not knowing what to do. But we actually found a better way, because we found people are over obsessing about these numbers, constantly tracking. Am I at a 6? Am I at a 7? Am I at a 3, 4? Or what should I do if I'm a 3? So they're not really being intuitive about recovery. And if you're over tracking, you know, you're going to stay stuck. So this is a more intuitive way to assess whether you should expand, maintain, or pull back activity based on how manageable your symptoms feel. Okay. Instead of tracking symptoms with rigid numbers, this framework focuses on 3 key zones: expanding capacity or activity, maintaining, and pulling back. Okay. It's not a fixed system with hard cutoffs. These zones blend into each other, meaning there aren't strict rules for when to increase or decrease activities. The key is to stay in a range where symptoms remain manageable and adjust based on how your body responds. Okay, another major factor in this framework is your emotional response. Symptoms, let me see here. I'm just looking at some comments, seeing what the feedback is. Okay, cool. Symptoms don't just depend on physical exertion. Your mindset and emotions amplify or reduce how symptoms feel. Remember that magnifying glass analogy. Okay, that magnifying glass is going to get bigger the more anxiety you have. So, for example, 2 people with the exact same physical symptoms can experience them differently based on how they perceive and respond to them. So recognizing this helps you stay in control of your recovery process and avoid unnecessary setbacks. This framework also accounts for delayed post-exertional malaise responses, or delayed PEM, or APs, adjustment periods. If symptoms flare up the next day or later, just adjusting activity levels in a gentle and gradual way helps prevent overcorrection, ensuring continued progress without extreme ups and downs. I think this should say overdoing it. Okay, so let's look at it. You guys ready? Okay. The optimal zone is in between. This is challenging yet very doable. I can somewhat do this, and this is very difficult to do. You don't want to get to the point where you start telling yourself, I cannot do this anymore. And also, if it comes really easy to you, you know, you can challenge yourself a little bit more. And this is assuming you want to increase your capacity for things. Now, you don't always need to be increasing capacity. There are times when I just wanted to chill out. I was at a decent place at many points in my recovery, and I said, you know, I don't even want to think about recovery. I just want to chill and live my life and see friends and not have to worry about this stuff. So you don't always have to be expanding your capacity, right? And notice that this is not activity expansion, it's capacity expansion. This is how you build your threshold so it can handle more things. But remember, you don't always need to be building. You can, I call it like taking a vacation from recovery. So does this make sense, guys? So far, we're going to illustrate this even more. Let me get some feedback in here. Just comment down below. Hey, Geraldine, nice to see you. Is this making sense so far? Just say yes or no in the chat or in the comments. Nice. Well, it only makes sense for 4 people. We got like 60 people on here. I just need some feedback to know if you guys are understanding it. So if you could put in the chat, it'll give me some guidance on if I need to go even further into this or not. I'm going to assume it doesn't make sense if you guys aren't letting me know. Okay. Or even just put a Y in the chat. So you don't have to type. Okay, it looks like it makes sense for most people. Cool. Okay, so let's look at it from another way, another visual. By the way, these were designed by myself. Very proud of this here. A little bit of graphic design going on. I do have a lot of fun in building these visuals for you guys. This is what really helped me understand a lot of these concepts, because I can visualize things in my mind very well. So I just thought these would be very helpful for people struggling with this. So anyways, going back here, there is an optimal zone. Notice how it's between manageable and no longer manageable. When symptoms start to become manageable, then gently resume activity and then repeat the process. If symptoms are unmanageable, slow down your activity. Your body needs some time to readjust, and you kind of stay within this range. Notice how there's no hard cutoff here as well. It's blended, right? It's blended. So you go back and forth here. Now, you might be asking, what is manageable? What is no longer manageable? You have to take into account physical and your emotional sensations or your mindset. They come in a package. Overall, if we were to take everything you're feeling physically and emotionally, if you're feeling scared and doubtful, but you have very minimal symptoms, don't do it, right? Because mentally, it's going to feel very difficult for you. If you're feeling like it's no longer manageable as a whole, dial it back a little bit. If you're feeling like it's manageable, that's okay. You can increase it. And here's the thing. The more you understand these concepts, the easier it is to manage things. The more manageable, even bigger tasks are going to be. Because the reason a lot of times things become no longer manageable is because our mindset starts to get shaky. We start thinking, oh, well, what if this is too much? What if this happens? What if I can't handle the AP? What if I crash? So all of these things, they add stress to your threshold, and the symptoms come on a lot sooner. So you don't really trust that your body can handle it. As you get better, you're going to have more and more trust and confidence in your body, and you'll be able to stretch this out even more. So, I mean, this works whether you're bedridden or, couch-bound or semi-functional. You want to stay in this optimal zone. Okay, so it's right in this middle ground here. Let's look at more analogies. This is for integrations. This one is a little more advanced, for a little more advanced calls for people who have gone through the foundational calls, but a different way to visualize activity scale. Speedometer. Okay, here we have no symptoms. Here we have overwhelming. You want to be in this optimal zone, which is manageable. Okay, now this dial here, this needle is going to go back and forth, right? Sometimes you'll have very minimal to no symptoms. Sometimes it'll be overwhelming, but as long as you're not staying up here, you're good. Okay, so you just want to go back and forth in this phase over here. What some people do is, they'll wait till they have no symptoms and they'll be like, wow, I'm good to go. I'm excited with all this energy I have. And they just slam on the gas pedal and just go to overwhelming. I think I saw a comment earlier. I think it was Tally, actually. It was something about like feeling decent and then just kind of going for it. I used to do that as well. So when you feel good, you kind of overdo it. I want to stay within this range, in this optimal zone. Okay. And then the last visual over here, it's like a thermometer. It's overwhelming. And then there's no symptoms down here. Then there's manageable right in the middle. So you want to keep it in the manageable stage, right? And this is the new approach that we've been using with people. And it's really, really been working really well. So yeah, I just wanted to share this with you guys. When you start implementing these principles, magic stuff starts to happen. It's really cool because, like I said, you guys can try out the academy for free. Just see if the stuff works. See it for yourself. You see tons and tons of wins here. People doing stuff for the longest time. The longest, doing things for the first time in the longest time. It's a super positive community. But I wanted to show you guys something, actually. So yeah, this is the Recovery Academy. Right now it's free, but you get a 7-day trial, right? But Recovery Foundations, this is something that's helped so many people recover. This is, again, it's completely free. Like, you guys don't pay for any of this stuff on the Recovery Foundations, but we actually developed a nervous system health assessment. I would love for you guys to go and try it. We've spent hundreds of hours developing it, and it's basically going to give you a breakdown of your current capacity, your current situation, what your specific roadblocks are, and it's actually going to come up with suggestions for your situation. So in the Recovery Foundations, actually, is there anybody here who is in the Recovery Foundations? There's been a lot of people joining it. A lot of people can recover just through this. It's really cool. So it's just another level of guidance, a little bit more than just the YouTube videos. And again, it's completely free. Awesome. Joanna is in Recovery Foundations. Oh, I don't know how to access that nervous system assessment. Yeah, I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to show all you guys how to do it. Yeah, and if you have been on there, and yeah, if you've been on there, we just added this new feature, as in like yesterday. It's super cool. How do we access the nervous system health assessment? Yes, let me show you guys. So you go here, go to the classroom. You have to go through your first 7 days though. So you go through day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. On day 7, that's when it unlocks. Okay, then you go down here. Let's actually take it together. I'll show you guys, okay? And actually, let's go through it together, okay? So let's just say Miguel Bautista. My email is, let's use, I don't know, one of these ones. Age 29, length of illness. I had it for about 4.5 years. Okay, what are your symptoms? Yeah, this is in the school app. This is in Recovery Foundations on day 7. So if we select all of this, let's just basically say I have all of this, right? Go next. You go through these questions. So give me a situation, guys. Give me some ideas in the comments. Describe to me. Let's just say it's somebody who's couch bound, and they're able to look at screens for quite a bit during the day, but physically very difficult to move around, right? Let's just say couch bound. I'm just going to write it in the chat so you guys can do it along with me. So couch bound, able to look at screens quite a bit, can barely do any physical activity, very anxious and emotional. Yeah, the assessment is completely free. Okay, so looking at screens, yeah, totally fine. Holding conversations in person, yeah, kind of struggle with that. Let's do that. Holding conversations over the phone, yeah, about the same. Thinking about your mental to-do list, that's kind of overwhelming. Reading more than 2 pages, let's just say barely. Writing, typing clear, concise sentences, not too much. Memory issues. Yeah, that's not good. Moving around the house freely, definitely not good. Standing for more than 10 minutes at a time. Yeah, I could kind of do that. Doing simple chores, barely. Walking outside, 0. How many showers are you able to take per week? Let's say like 3. Driving for more than 5 minutes at a time, 0. Not driving. Tolerate food. I'm okay with that, let's say. And then this person is couch bound. Almost there. On days where you feel good, how likely are you to do everything you possibly can? And let's just say this person is very anxious and they're scared. Okay, so very unlikely. On days when you feel worse, how likely are you to do nothing? Oh no, this is days when you feel good. Let's say likely. Very unlikely. When do you tend to pull back due to symptoms? Is it when things become very overwhelming or just before that? I pull back well before things become overwhelming. At what symptom severity do you start to expand again? Do you wait until you feel completely symptom-free? Let's say I always wait until I feel completely symptom-free before expanding. So there's reasons we ask these questions, and we could have picked hundreds and hundreds of questions to choose from, but these are the ones we came up with, and you'll see why. I'm really excited to show you why. How often do you find yourself overthinking, overanalyzing, or questioning things? Very often. Do you get offended or angry often? Sometimes. If you were to ask a family member, spouse, or loved one, if you were an emotionally intense person, yes, very emotionally intense. How many extremely emotionally intense experiences, positive or negative, would you say? Oh, many, because of all these flare-ups, right? For most people, let's just say many. How do you feel emotionally on days where you feel better? Slightly positive. When you feel worse, I feel horrible. Excessively negative. Almost there. If we ask a family member, spouse, or a loved one if you were rigid or uptight, how much would they agree? Slightly. What do you feel you need the most help? I have no idea what to do, and I have no idea how much activity to do and how to not crash. I am not getting better. And I am stuck. Your next goal in recovery is to walk outside in the sunshine with minimal symptoms. Boom. Test completed. Okay. So basically what happens here is you're going to get a PDF breakdown report of your situation, and then also a personalized video breakdown going over the situation. So let me pull up what that in-depth dashboard looks like. I think you guys will find it super cool. So I'm going to check my email right now. It usually takes about 5 minutes for that email to come through. Health assessment. Yeah, it will take a few minutes to come through, but I'm going to show you guys an example of what it looks like. Where is it? In-depth dashboard. Because right now our software is essentially generating it right now. Okay. So it looks like this. I'm super excited to show you guys this. Okay, so let's exit this. And then present, share. Okay, you guys ready? So this is an example of another person's, because else we're going to have to wait a few minutes, right? So this is what it would essentially generate. It would have shown me down here in the orange, and whenever that thing gets emailed to me, I'll I'll show you guys, but it's got all your symptoms, so you know what you're dealing with. It's going to show you your cognitive and physical comparison, so you know which area you need to probably pull back or increase. Now, this is more so just like a diagnostic. It shows you pretty much your stats of what's going on, your CFS profile, basically. But you're probably looking at this and thinking, what the heck does this stuff mean? This looks like a jet fighter plane dashboard, like a 747 airplane cockpit. I don't know what any of this means, Miguel. Please explain to me in English. All right. So we go down here, your in-depth results. Again, this is completely free. Okay. We spent like hundreds of hours developing this, but we figured out a way to make it accessible to everybody. But it's going to show you pretty much where you're at on the triangle. So it's going to give you a rough explanation. So let's say if someone was up here, like for me, this would be different because I was orange, or I was couch bound. So I'd be in the orange phase. It would give you an explanation so you know what your roadblocks are. Each one of these colors, they have different challenges and roadblocks in those stages that we've seen. So we've been able to compile them. Now, if we look at your polarization scale, it's going to show you again what an example of that looks like. So I'm going to use a real life example here. I won't show this person's name, but this is a this. Okay, so this would show the physical, emotional, and cognitive polarization, like what that even means. Oh, actually, here I figured out a way to not show the name. Okay, so this is a real person. This is a real person. Okay, if we go down here, let me make this bigger. Your in-depth results. Okay, so this person was also couch bound. The orange phase, your body's working its way out of survival and freeze state. You can go from having very little energy to surges of energy and adrenaline. The body is going to start shifting gears and turning things back on. However, oftentimes the body may not know what to do with this new energy, so it can feel symptoms. Here's what you can expect: anxiety, buzzing, panic attacks, insomnia, digestive issues. Very common for this stage. In this phase, basically things to look out for. And then there's your recovery habits. So this just helps paint a bit of a clearer picture on what's going on with you. Physical, these are your habits and what to look out for. When adrenaline rushes or a bit of energy comes back, you're choosing to engage in expanding activity. And this is where we had a very tricky time trying to figure out, how do we measure someone's mindset in recovery, their fear, their anxiety, their tendencies to overpush themselves? Well, this does that, right? In both the cognitive, physical, and emotional place. Also, what is your balance versus cognitive and physical? It's interesting to know. Then there's this over here, that dial, your physical capacity. And here's the really cool part. This is what I'm really excited about, and I hope you guys are excited about it too. There is a recovery trajectory timeline of roughly how long it could take you to recover, right? And that's using different resources that we have. Obviously, you can recover by yourself as well, but this actually gives you a fairly accurate timeline if you were to engage with the different recovery systems we have. Now, again, it is not absolutely necessary, but you know that if this person's couch bound and let's say they were inside the academy, it would take about 10 to 12 months roughly if they were to follow the plan. And this is based off about 1,200 surveys and cases that we've done. So it's fairly accurate. We track this super, super closely. We're doing studies on it right now, but it just gives you expectations and milestones of where you could be. So this one is super cool. But again, you guys can recover with just foundations or with just YouTube videos. This is if you need more help. Here's the really cool part. Check this out, guys. Your 30-day do-it-yourself plan. So based on what this individual answered, this is specifically on what she needs to focus on, ideally, right? What to focus on mentally, what to focus on emotionally in 3 different buckets. And then there's some activity examples, right? So you can choose from it. Pick only 1 to 2 items to focus on in each of these buckets. So this is going to show you, it's going to give you basically a tray of options saying, hey, this is what stage you're at. These are all your symptoms. This is your mindset. This is basically your entire recovery profile. Here's our guidance. Here's what we would recommend, right? Now, normally we would have to do this manually with every single person, but now it's all inside a software. That's super cool. So, what to focus on physically. If she is couch bound, continue exposure to natural light. Do very doable chores around the house. Light exercise, 2 to 3 bodyweight squats. That's it, right? Or wall push-ups. Sit outside in nature. And again, still, these are fairly general compared to how closely we work with people inside like the Platinum program, because we give them also time frames. It's like, hey, sit outside for 2 minutes after every meal, and we'll do that for the next 7 days, and then we're going to see what happens, and then you should be getting better. And then there's also recovery roadblocks in your current stage, and then also what to look forward to into your next stage. I know it can be super difficult trying to figure out what even happens next. So this is going to let you know what to expect. And and there's different options down here that you can click. Like if you wanted to go for all the support you could get, work directly with our team, everything here, this is just scratching the surface if you were to apply for Platinum. But again, you could do this all on your own. Really, it's once you understand the information and the science behind recovery, it makes it so much easier. But I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'm going to share a link down below. Well, actually, everybody just go to Recovery Foundations, go through the 7 days, dive into it, do your nervous system health assessment, and then you can try out the Recovery Academy for free for 7 days. You have a trial membership there right now. I don't know how long it's going to be open. We'll probably close it at the end of today, which is February 22nd. Maybe open again in the future, depending on when you're watching this replay. But hope you guys enjoyed this video. If anyone says you're just in it for the money, they're crazy. Yeah, so everything I just showed you guys right now, you can get access to that for free, right? Like not right now. If you just join, it's going to be in 7 days, but literally $0. You don't even need to put in your credit card for Recovery Foundations. So I just want to help you guys out. Wish I knew this information when I was sick. So hope you guys enjoy this one. Go out, take advantage of the resources. They're there to help you guys. And we will see you guys on the next live. There's actually a live stream on Wednesday with Coach Junior and Ariel. So I hope you guys got a lot out of this one. If you wanted some extra support, you can always apply for the Platinum program. You can, look at the different resources we have available. I'll put the link up. Yeah, let me put the link up. Foundations. So it looks like this. And I'll put it in the comments. Yeah, so I just put it in the comments. Just go to school.com and search up Recovery Foundations, and you'll be able to sign up right away. And there's a lot of people. I mean, just in the last week, there were 131 people who joined. And they're working their way through the recovery system. Oh yeah, also one more thing too. Once you do your test, you unlock a classroom over here, which is also going to explain to you the different levels of the triangle, not to mention your personalized video that you're going to get. Actually, it just came up. So one more thing. I know I'm dragging this along a little bit, but we go over here. So this is my This is the email I just got. Okay. Hi, Thriver. Thank you for trusting us with your recovery journey. Your custom video is ready and waiting for you. So you do get a PDF as well as a personalized video. So check this out. It's going to make me download it. And you'll also get the PDF over here. So I'm just waiting for it to download, and then I'll show you guys. Okay. Okay, and then I just want to make sure you guys can hear. Let me know. Let me know if you guys can hear this. Can you guys hear it or no? Oh, no sound? Okay, let me turn on the sound. Yeah, sorry, my speakers were off. Give me a second. Okay.
Welcome to your in-depth nervous system health dashboard results. My name is Miguel Bautista, the founder of CFS Recovery, and I'm going to be guiding you through a personalized breakdown of your nervous system health assessment. Think of this as a roadmap for your recovery journey. Each section of this dashboard is here to help you better understand where you're at right now and what you can be doing to get to the next level. Remember, you're not alone on this path, and we're here to support you every step.
So it's going to go through every part of the nervous system health assessment and break it down for you specifically. So I was in the orange.
Based on your response, you're currently in the orange phase. At this stage, your body is shifting from rest to activity, but often with surges of adrenaline and anxiety. The body is going to start shifting gears and turning up the energy.
Okay, so basically it's a 10-minute
mind are going to be slightly
breaking down each different part of this so you can read your results. And it's
gentle,
very, very specific. And there's some suggestions as well.
This area looks at.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool what we've done here. So I would say,
really good for the stage. Light exercise. So things like
I would say go check it out. It's a really cool resource, and we will see you guys next time. Hope you guys all got the link. I'll put it there again really quickly. All right. See you guys. Take it easy. You're just one mind shift away from living a life with thriving health.